Oh, no. Cut the music. We don't have time for this. Guys, you have got to stop overcomplicating card grading. Every single day, I'm getting some version of the same question here. PSA is $80 now. Should I still grade there? Should I use SGC? What about BGS, CGC, tag? Should I even grade anything at all right now? Calm down. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be. If your goal is to make money grading cards, I do not care which grading company you use. I do not care if PSA costs $25 per card, $80 per card, or $600 per card. The only thing that matters is the math. That's it. The company doesn't matter. The fee doesn't matter. If the math works, then grade the card. If the math doesn't work, then don't grade the card. Okay, so wait a second. What math? And hold on, Ryan, I'm not a math person. This sounds hard. Grow up. This is easy. It's easy. So years ago, I created a very simple framework for one reason: to figure out whether or not a card is a good grading candidate. So give me a few minutes here. I'll show you exactly how it works. And by the end of this video, any and all confusion about what cards to grade and where will be gone for good. All right, my framework is called the 2x rule. And all we're looking for here is cards where the expected grade is at least 2x your total cost. So expected grade is double your raw price plus the grading fee. I'm going to say that one more time. All we're looking for here is cards where the expected grade is at least 2x your total cost. Hence the 2x rule name. I know I'm really creative. I'm super good at naming things. But guys, if your card passes the 2x rule, you can make a very strong argument to grade the card. If not, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. That's it. It's really that simple. This works for PSA, BGS, SGC, tag, CGC. Works no matter what the grading fee is. It works for every card you're ever going to consider for grading. So why does this work? Well, it ensures that we're targeting cards with high upside. Guys, if you take nothing else from this video, I want you to pay attention to this one thing and just remember this. Targeting higher upside cards to grade is the cheat code to winning in the card market. I've made an enormous amount of content about card strategy, but this is the hill that I will die on. Now, your grades obviously matter, but you win or lose in the draft with grading. If you pick better cards, you can be a worse grader, get a lower gem rate, and still make the same or more money because the 10s add so much value. Now, what most people do is they look at their grading orders and they're worried about, how many cards should I be submitting or what value should I be targeting? And those things matter, but the metric that I look at for my grading orders is neither of those things. It's what is my grading upside for the order? So if my cards get the expected grade, how much are they worth? That's all I care about. And the 2x rule ensures the upside is actually there to make the order highly profitable, assuming we get the grades we expect, of course. Now, condition absolutely matters, and we must be realistic about the expected grade. So if your card is creased in half, it's not going to get a PSA 10, so don't look at PSA 10 values in that scenario. Look at PSA 1 values and ask the question, does it meet the 2x rule? If it's a modern card, I bet it won't, so there's your answer. Don't grade that card. The other thing is the 2x rule is a guideline to help us screen which cards to consider. It is not a law, so it usually matters more on lower value cards than it does on higher value cards. For example, I might grade a card that's $1,000 raw and maybe it's $1,900 as a PSA 10, and that clearly does not meet the 2x rule. So what do? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty happy about making $900 just to grade a single card. So to me, that's fine. The margin just has to be worth it to you. But for lower dollar cards where the margin isn't so big, the 2x rule becomes far more critical. And here's why. Targeting cards that meet the 2x rule does three very important things for us. First of all, it stops us from submitting cards that set us up for failure where we don't have enough margin to actually make any money. Secondly, it gives us buffer when things go wrong and we get lower grades than expected. It happens. It even happens to me. I had an order come back last week where I went 7 for 21. That sucks. My normal gem rate is close to 70% and I had a 33% gem rate on that order. Every now and then you're just going to run into a tougher grader, and that's okay. That's just part of the process with grading. Human beings grade cards. But guess what? I'm still going to make money on that order, even though I only had a 33% gem rate, because those 710s are worth so much more than they were raw. And the margin from those 10s will more than cover all of the cards that I missed on, all the grading fees, and it'll still leave me plenty of money to put in my pocket at the end of the day. And then the third thing that the 2x rule will do for us is it gives us buffer in case the market shifts while our cards are out for grading. So you got to think about brand new products here. Think about base Prism rookie cards, or think about like Pokemon cards if you're you're into Pokemon. Like when you grade cards where there's lots of copies out there, you're going to have a card that goes from pop 0 to pop 1000 relatively quickly in that first year. The Wembanyama 2023 Prism rookie card went from 0 to pop 25,000 in the first year of that product. And what ends up happening is as the PSA 10 count grows, the supply rises, the demand stays relatively flat, and so that puts downward pressure on pricing. So in the first year of a new product, a lot of times we'll see the margins compress between the first PSA 10s to sell versus the 100th versus the 1000th versus the 25,000th copy to hit the market in Wembanyama's case. So targeting cards that have actual meaningful upside using the 2x rule will help build in buffer so that if that happens, we still have enough margin to make some money on most cards. Okay, Ryan, this sounds good, but how do I actually do it? Well, let me show you. So go to your favorite comp tool, and all we're doing is we're comparing the difference between a raw card and the PSA 10 copy. So I'm looking at this Ohtani Pixel Portraits card from 2025 Bowman's Best. Cool looking card. Sells for about $300 ungraded right now. If we look at PSA 10s of this card, it sells for around $1,200 right now. So what's the math look like? Well, $1,200 divided by our total cost, which is $300 plus the $80 grading fee, plus let's say a few dollars for shipping. So let's just call it an even $400 to make it easy math. And we've got about a 3x play in this scenario. That's the type of card that gives you meaningful upside. That's the type of card that builds in buffer when things go wrong. So yes, this card would be a great grading candidate. And then you're off to eBay to search for the clean copies. Now, if you want to take this a level further here, the other thing I like to look at is the gem rate to figure out how has this card graded so far. So card's gem rate is basically like its success rate. So of the copies that have been graded, how many have actually gotten a gem mint grade? So if I submit 10 cards for grading and 8 of them get a PSA 10, my gem rate is 8 divided by 10 or 80%. In this scenario, the Ohtani Bowman's Best Pixel is grading at a 69% gem rate. That's really strong. That tells me that almost 7 out of 10 copies that have been submitted to PSA are grading as a PSA 10. Now, the gem rate is valuable because it helps us focus our time on cards that we're more likely to find in clean gradable condition. For example, a card with a 20% gem rate is likely going to be harder to find in clean gradable condition than a card with a 70% gem rate. So I'd rather put my time toward the one that's going to be easier to find, where I have to do less work to find clean copies of them. It's still going to take effort. I still have to be careful with which copies I buy because I don't want to buy the off-centered ones or the ones that have clear damage, but this will help streamline the process. Now, the downside is this process of looking between raw prices and PSA 10 prices and gem rates and cross-referencing and going from site to site and having a spreadsheet where you're keeping running data of which cards are actually worth considering. This takes a long time. It definitely works. This is what I did for years, but I got sick of it, and so I built a tool that'll automate this process. It's called Coin, and it lets you do 5 hours of research in 5 seconds. So all we do here is just open the dashboard, and then we'll see that exact Ohtani card here, along with hundreds of other cards on the list that have really strong grading upside, all the metrics in one place, and tons of cards where the PSA 10 multiplier is more than that 2x that we're looking for. If you want sport-specific lists, we've got that. If Pokemon is your thing, we've got that too. And we've already rebuilt the tool for PSA's current grading structure, where $80 is the current lowest grading fee. So you can see cards that still make sense even at the $80 level. Now, Coin is a paid tool, so if you don't actually buy cards to grade every month, just skip it and save your money. It's not going to be worth it to you. But if you do grade all the time and you're always buying cards to grade, I'll leave a link in the description where you can grab a free 7-day trial and see what you think and see how much time it saves you in the process of finding these cards that meet the 2x rule. Now, what about the question of, do I use a different grading company? Well, look at the math. If you don't want to grade with PSA because $80 per card doesn't feel right to you, or it feels like it's too expensive or too risky, fine. But don't make a decision based on the name of the grading company. Make a decision based on the math. Same thing. Go look at the 2x rule. Look at the value of your cards and the grades you expect them to get. So for example, a BGS 9.5 is their gem mint grade. Pristine 10s are harder to get, so you can't really assume those. SGC 10s are their gem mint grade. And instead of asking, should I grade with this company or that company, just look at the numbers. And it's got to be on a card-by-card basis. What I think you'll find is that for most cards, it does not make sense to use anyone other than PSA right now. The thing about BGS, SGC, TAG, CGC, all these other companies, they're not cheap and they're not fast either. And if there's no margin on the back end, then it does not make sense to grade with those companies just because you don't like what PSA is doing. So it's kind of like we're in this tough spot where we're between a rock and a hard place. We don't necessarily have a great option for grading right now. And it's really frustrating. I understand that completely. We're all in this same boat right now, and we all want PSA to hurry up with their orders, get through the backlog, and reopen grading so they stop bottlenecking the entire market. But don't make emotional decisions. Look at the math. math, look at the logic, stay grounded. If the numbers make sense, send it. If the numbers don't make sense, don't send it. It's that simple. But guys, stop overcomplicating this. It doesn't matter where you're grading. It doesn't matter the grading fees. The math either works or it doesn't. So find the cards with enough upside, be realistic about the grade, and let the numbers make the decision for you. That's it. If you want to try Coin, click the link in the description and grab a free trial. But otherwise, don't forget to subscribe for more card strategy videos like this one, and I will see you on the next video.